Okay, when this is the goal, this is the goal of mental well-being. When the unconscious becomes conscious, we need to integrate the unconscious. We need to integrate the unconscious with the conscious. According to Jung, but most psychologists and psychiatrists don't disagree with Jung. So, this is what happens when the unconscious becomes conscious. These are the two separate conscious systems right here. This is the conscious system, which is right now. Well, both of these are happening right now at the same time, believe it or not. All right. So, but see how the clock is going this way? Going clockwise. And over here, clock is going counterclockwise. That's the difference between the two conscious systems. They're opposites, opposed. See, Jung and Freud never accounted for this. Because this is, never accounted for, and this is actually, this is the road to mental illness, when the unconscious becomes conscious. Well, Freud, I don't know. Actually, Freud, a lot of psychiatrists say, like dreaming, there's a relationship between dreaming and mental illness. But, and that's why. But they don't really understand why. This is what happens. The past will rule the present. Because the unconscious is going backwards, counterclockwise, it's so if it becomes conscious. If it becomes conscious, time is not going forward; it's going backwards. And that's a big problem with the world today, and my guesstimate. Big problem, because time is going backwards. Time halts. Life is unlived. Mental illness ensues. The living are led into the past and revive the dead and discover nothing new. The dead rule the living. Ancient dead labor equals present day capital. A mass capital halts time. What's dead is resurrected. So now we're going to talk about the Red Book too. I'm going to talk about the Red Book. So yeah, this is really catastrophic. Catastrophic flaw, and it's like leave it to man to make such a so narrow-minded, such a narrow-minded view that the men, you let them tell you what your unconscious is and what your conscious, rather than you know what it is more than anybody else. But all right, so we're going to talk about we're going to interpret the Jung's vision. He calls it a vision, which is kind of like a dream. I suppose it's a dream, but it's a vision. I don't know how he got into a state where he saw the vision. from the unconscious. He starts out in an army. He's like in an army, and he fights an army, like old-fashioned, like Roman army. He's like in one of these gladiator armies, and Jung's in it, and they fight a gnarly battle. Just like a bloody, gnarly battle, and Jung kills Christ. And then he goes, and then he meets the old man, and then I forget what happens after that. Oh, he sees, a river full of blood. He sees a river, he thinks it's blood. I don't think it's blood. I think it's not blood, but he sees a river of blood, and he sees himself crucified to a cross, and the blood, and he's bleeding as he's Christ. And then then there's this virgin lady. Oh, a virgin lady. Well, first, a virgin lady who cuts off John's head. She was a dancer, and king granted her any wish that she wanted, and she wanted the head of John, blonde-haired John, whoever he is, who is in the Bible. And then, so John finds a red crystal in the ground, and he picks it up, and he could see a hole, and he could see John's head floating on a platter, floating down like a creek. You see something else here. I forget what it is. And then this virgin lady and an old man who are married, prophet. And they crawl into a cave. No, he gets up on a rock. The prophet gets up on a rock and says, preaches, turns into a dwarf and goes in a hole and leads Jung into the hole. A real deep hole cave. A little tiny midget dwarf leads him in there, real deep in there. But Jung and the dwarf are saying, this is I'm going to show you the well of wisdom. And if you drink from the water from the well of wisdom, you'll have wisdom. But Jung was afraid he couldn't get down there. He didn't see the well or the water, and didn't drink from the well of wisdom. And before he went in, the prophet told him, that he's told him that Jung is about form, not revelation. So he never his revelation was never. He never had a revelation. In other words, his soul told him that, you didn't drink from the well, and you didn't have a revelation. And that's what, so he doesn't really know yet. So Jung interprets this vision. Jung interprets this vision this way. We're talking, it's not that way. It's this way. It's not Jung like going into a cave, into his mother, incest. No, it's Jung's birth coming out of his mother. Because, see what I'm saying? So that's what happens when the unconscious becomes conscious. It's like, this living right here. Time is going backwards. But, when this conscious system can actually become dominant. The dominant conscious system. Well, I don't know if it's dominant. I don't know. They're both. I don't know if they're equal. They're not equal. They're very different. So, is one supposed to be dominant? I don't know. But they come. During when you're. This is when you're supposed to be asleep, though. And this is when you're supposed to be awake. Somehow, they get mixed up. That's lesson 5.